right. Our fantastic final speaker for this period, Lisa Wright. She is a senior technical writer and information architect working at, is it pronounced FINE or F-I-N-E?
Fine.
FINE, which is a brand agency for the digital age. They develop brand identities for companies, which often includes building out websites and social media plans. She's going to be talking about careers at FINE and how technical careers show up in places you might not consider.
Good morning. I want to thank you guys for having me here today. I could see you better a second ago, and I'm glad I noticed that there's a big hole in this stage. I won't walk there. My name is Lisa Wright, as you just learned, and I am a senior technical writer at FINE, and I am also an information architect. So we're going to talk about two jobs today that you may not be aware of. I think people hear a lot about engineers and scientists, and we're going to talk about some other things that you may not be aware of that work with engineering and science and computing. So just briefly, we're going to do an introduction, and then we're going to talk about what is tech writing, what is information architecture. I'm going to tell you a little bit about FINE, and that includes a job shadow program that we have that we're pretty excited about. And then talk about, just a couple minutes about some things that might help you build a lasting career, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. All right, so I did not have quite the typical path of graduating from high school and going to college right away. I did not know what I wanted to do. I had kind of a rough time in high school, and so I took a couple years off. I knew that I wanted to go to college, but I just was not quite ready. And so after a couple years of working, I went to community college in my hometown of Denver. And I knew that writing was a core skill, but I didn't really know what careers were available besides being an English teacher. Being an English teacher is very important. Teaching is not one of my core skill sets. It was not something I really wanted to do. So I just was taking all the classes I could, and I just took a tech writing class. And that was like a 200 level class, and I found my thing that I wanted to build my career around. I found the kind of writing that I wanted to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that kind of writing is today. And then I was able to transfer to the University of Colorado at Denver. And then I've been working in this career for 20 years through some pretty major economic upheaval. And I've been able to build a lasting career, which is pretty great. All right, what is tech writing? I went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics to get some information about, what tech writing is. Technical writers, also called technical communicators, prepare instruction manuals, how-to guides, journal articles, and other supporting documents to communicate complex and technical information more easily. They also develop, gather, and disseminate technical information through an organization's communications channels. So this is a very thorough definition to which I applied some technical writing. The revised definition is that technical writers analyze user tasks and structure and write necessary information to help users meet those goals. So this is much more streamlined. We really focus on what do users need in order to accomplish what they're trying to do with their iPhone, with their computer, software program, whatever it might be. In order to be a technical writer, you don't have to have an English degree, but you do probably need to have something related to English. So journalism, communications, English, really emphasize writing. Writing is a skill and a muscle that you can build. It's good to have some good solid training in that. Related to that, you do not have to be an engineer or a scientist, but you do need to have an affinity for that sort of information. How do you know you have an affinity for that? Obviously, if you're taking the classes and you're liking them, that's one way. Another way is, do you like hanging out with scientists and engineers or computer people? Do you like reading about and continuing to learn about that sort of thing? You have to be able to understand enough about the information in order to write about it accurately. Pay. You can make a pretty good living as a tech writer. The median annual wage for technical writers in 2015 was about $70,000. That's nationwide. People make more or less depending on where they are working. Types of projects you work on, software documentation, process documentation, user interface language is really big right now. All the apps that you work on, all the things that are transforming the way we do business on the computer, that's user interface, user experience. Customer communications, a lot of tech writers work for companies internally. How and when do you work? Mostly solo as a writer, but you're usually embedded on a cross-functional team with engineers, with project managers, with software people. And then you might, if you're working with a team of writers, you're probably all working on different projects, but you have a team of writers to support you. Excuse me. And then there are a variety of places that employ tech writers, software firms, Intel and IBM have a lot of them, consulting firms, universities, large and small companies. I've worked for many, many different sizes and kinds of companies. Tech writing touches a lot of other skill sets and careers. So this is just a list of things that I've done training in over the course of my career, and a lot of people will come into tech writing from these types of jobs, and a lot of times tech writers will go into these kinds of jobs if they decide to do something else. So user experience, user interface design, business analysis, software Q&A, search engine optimization, project management, product management, information architect, as I have done. Instructional design is really big, and then software developer. Instructional design is interesting because as more and more computer courses, or college courses go online, there's some instructional design that has to go into crafting those courses specifically for online use. Hello. Okay, there we go. Tech writer, I thought this was kind of fun. Tech writers show up in pop culture every now and then. Gilbert has Tina the tech writer. She's somewhat aggrieved. We're not all aggrieved, but she is. Pop culture, Andy Richter controls the universe. He is a technical writer in his show. And then What If, which is a movie that stars Daniel Radcliffe. He writes manuals for a living after dropping out of medical school. All right, these are a couple of popular examples of technical writing. This is, you may have seen this in your home, instruction manual for assembling IKEA furniture. What's interesting about this is that originally these would have started as written instructions, and part of the user task that you're breaking down here is that people need to assemble the furniture, so that's pretty straightforward. But IKEA does business in I don't know how many different countries, and many of them speak different languages. So there's something called internationalization or localization, where you do translation. For a company like IKEA, which tries to keep their costs very low, that's a tremendous expense. And so what they eventually did was say, hey, in order to make these manuals useful for people in all of these different countries, we're going to just make them visual, because we're just assembling parts and pieces, and we're going to put our instructional efforts into documenting how those pieces go together. And that way they avoid a whole set of problems that companies that do written documentation have. All right, this is another example. Anymore, you don't really get your user manuals with your phone or your computer software or anything like that. Most of that is online, unless you're buying a large appliance and you get a big manual with it. You go online to get your instructions. And so, a technical writer wrote the manuals. When you click in the search box, you have quick links to all of the detailed technical information, but you can also just type a quick query if that's what you're there for. And even how these support sites work is structured by technical writers. All right, now we're going to talk about my other job, which is information architecture. This job does not exist on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, so I went to the Information Architecture Institute, which is a big professional organization of information architects, and we work to understand business and user needs and then categorize information to meet those needs. So this is very similar to technical writing, except the writers are writing the specific instructions. Information architects are organizing everything. The output is commonly documented as sitemaps, taxonomies, wireframes, Good information architecture helps people understand their surroundings and find what they're looking for. And we're going to see a couple of examples of that in just a minute. Training for this, library information science degrees, human-computer interaction degrees, graphic design, computer sciences. There's a lot of online training and books available on this subject. And so you don't necessarily have to have a degree in this, but there are degrees out there if it's something you wanted to pursue. Average salary for an information architect in 2011 was $93,000, with starting salaries just over $60,000. So again, you can make a really good living doing this. Types of projects, websites, big data projects. Big data, you have to organize and categorize all of the information you're collecting and have a very controlled vocabulary for those things. Search engines work a lot in how do people think about and organize information. Where do you work? Again, you're probably going to be one of the only information architects, but you're going to work in large companies, web design agencies, universities, and libraries. All right, so I wanted to just show you a couple of examples of information architecture. This is a website that we built for a luxury resort in the Grand Caymans. And what you see is that you have a very simple navigation bar across the top, and then you have this big, beautiful image. What goes on behind that is that this starts out as a sitemap. So first we have to organize all the information and figure out the story that we're trying to tell, and then how do we categorize everything. This is a fairly small site. There are only a couple of areas where it goes into any depth in these pages. And then I further translate that into a data model, which tells us how we're going to actually get the content that we need to populate the website. And then on the tech writing side, I take this and the design and I pull it all together and write instructions for the computer programmers who are going to, the software programmers who are going to actually build the website. All right, this is another website that we built for Global Gourmet Catering. And again, you have this very simple navigation bar up top, and then you have this big, beautiful image. Okay, so it looks somewhat similar to the one that we just saw here on the surface. But if we go behind, this is the sitemap that we built. You can see that there's a lot more to it underneath. And one of the really fun things for me about this project is that I get to dig in and figure out exactly what the all of those very deep levels of content are for me. It's super nerdy and geeky, but I love it. The most fun part of this website for me was building out the menu detail pages and figuring out how every little bit of the menus were going to be laid out. All right. So let's talk about jobs and roles at Fine. This is a design agency. I think, probably you guys may not have as much familiarity with this. Again, we build websites, we build brand identities, logos, messaging. So we have a lot of different roles. We have graphic designers, software developers, and that's both back-end and front-end designer, or both back-end and front-end software developers. So everything from JavaScript and CSS to deep, like Ruby on Rails programming and system administration. We have project managers who guide the projects. We have operations people who kind of make sure everything keeps running. Search engine optimization, accounting, marketing, copywriting is another example of a career in writing if you really want to be a writer. Social media, sales, and of course technical writing and information architecture. And all of these jobs in some fashion or another do writing. So I'm going to encourage you, even if you are not a writer, to work on your writing skills. All right, I want to tell you about the Job Shadow program that we have at Fine. I'm going to leave some postcards over here on the table along with a little bit of swag. The Job Shadow program is pretty cool. It's a one-day thing where you come from like 9:30 to 3:30 or 4. Ideal for high school juniors and seniors who are interested in careers in design or technology. You attend meetings and ask questions of professionals. You'll have a shepherd to take you around, meet with a variety of people, have lunch, sit in on meetings and actually see what a day in the life of this career. There's a lot more detail that you can find at our We Are Fine website /careers, wearefine.com/careers. There's a job shadow link there, and you can find out more information about that and how to apply. Honestly, my hope for you guys is that when you are in the working world, that you have the ability to experience a workplace like Fine, and I think it's a really great place for you to come and visit for a day to see what a positive, happy workplace is like. We work really hard, but our very short code of conduct starts with, above all, be nice. It's just an incredibly positive place, and we're really devoted to helping people who come do our job shadow to have a positive experience. All right. Just some final thoughts. And like I said, I've been doing this for about 20 years, and I think you guys are entering a work time that's pretty crazy in terms of, college and then actually changing careers over time. And I think there's some things that can get you through when times are a little bit uncertain. And the first one is to focus on the fundamentals of whatever it is that you're doing. For me, that's writing, analysis, some design tools, learning how to learn. Our previous speaker talked about learning how to learn. That's really important. And so that was one of the things that I was kind of waiting to develop and that I really honed in community college, was learning how to learn. Writing is a muscle. Like I said, you can build it, and you should work on building it for whatever career you're in. Stay flexible in how and where you work. When I was laid off in 2001 after the tech boom or tech bust, I lost my full-time job, but I was able to keep working because I took contract jobs, and those eventually translated into full-time employment. So you need to have some flexibility in what kind of work you want to take. Can you work in person? Can you do your job remotely? Kind of expands your boundaries, and a lot more companies are working, enabling remote work. And then being able to work in many industries. I've worked in accounting, law, higher education, many other places. So software companies, IT departments. And then just continue to grow. Exercise your writing muscles, exercise your speaking muscles. These are skills where if you are writing a blog, you can kind of build a name for yourself and connect with other people who can help you stay employed. Cultivate self-awareness. This is something that will help you in difficult work environments, difficult school environments, but keep kind of building your self-awareness. Build new skills. So if you don't feel comfortable as a speaker, start speaking, start doing it, start practicing. There's a lot of resources out on the web that will help you learn how to do that. And then keep learning. So again, reiterating what the previous speaker said, keep learning new things, stay curious. That will help get you through. All right, and then these are just some images of our workplace and us working and having a little fun. And now I have time for some questions, if anyone has questions. Somebody have a question?
What's one of your favorite projects that you've got to work on at your current job?
Well, my current job, well, definitely the catering website was really fun. And I think, I get to do a lot of analysis and just kind of tearing things apart and then putting them back together, which is pretty cool.
And you kind of emphasized the positive atmosphere at Fine. Have you had an experience of a not positive work atmosphere?
I have. I think most people will. And that's part of where I think that cultivating your self-awareness comes in, because you have a better idea of what your personal boundaries are and what's okay and what's not okay. It was a rough I've had definitely have some rough experience, but I've had several great, and lengthy experiences. So it's all a balance.
Where is Vine?
Fine is downtown. We're in Southwest 11th. Is that right? Yes. 11th and Main. So we're pretty
Portland,
convenient.
right?
In Portland,
Yeah.
yeah. We have an office in San Francisco, and we do have remote people working in Traverse City, Michigan, and also in Texas and Los Angeles. So we've got some remote staff.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.